We are now on session 15, that's application. How would you like to read the objectives, please? Yes, the scripture is meant not only to challenge our thinking, but also to affect our living. As such, any exegetical study must move towards application. So that would involve bridge building process and formulating the application. Let's look at the bridge building process. Number one, in bridging the cultural gap, to be able to apply the passage, employ the process of differentiation, principalization, and particularization. Would you like to read differentiation, please? So even as you are reading your text, you should be able to identify the cultural gaps already. Letter B, principalization. This step seeks the timeless and universal truth that underlies the passage. This generalizing practice is observed in the Old Testament. For instance, the law is summarized into the 10 commandments, 6 commandments, 3 commands. And then in particularization, this step identifies the comparable contemporary cultural specifics or circumstances that are addressed by the biblical principle. Let's look at an example applying the process to Exodus 20, verse 17. Differentiation is coveting someone's slave and donkey applicable to residents in Metro Manila. Principalization, coveting is wrong. Particularization, Exodus 20:17 is a warning against coveting my neighbor's car, bank account, etc. So let's look at the formulation of the application. Would you read letter A, please? I'm thinking of Psalm 23. What were the issues that we can see in there? One is maybe need, daily needs, issues of protection, issues of safety, issues of danger. Letter B, clarify the nature of the application. Applications are generally of two kinds: those that inform or direct the reader. A passage that describes some aspect of the love of God primarily informs. A passage that commands the reader to love God primarily directs. So there is one that is commanding, and there's one that's just informing. Letter C, determine the time and focus of application. Does the passage simply call for recognition of an event that occurred in the past? Does it call for a present or future application? Does it call for immediate action? Does it call for a response over a long period of time? Letter D, would you read that, please? Letter E, your application must be derived from the data of your passage and not from preconceived ideas to which the passage is then forced to conform. Otherwise, this is eisegesis instead of exegesis, extracting from out of the passage. Number 3, peruse, how to apply the Bible to yourself or life in 4 steps. I want you to visit the link. You can get some ideas on how to do this as well. It's quite detailed. And then 4, for your exercise, list the possible issues that are being addressed by the psalm assigned to you. To what issues do these relate in the contemporary setting? Explain. 3, list viable applications from assigned text, which must be measurable. Include applications that are relevant to your personal walk with God, family, and ministry. So earlier, we have seen the theological idea and outline of Psalm 23. I'd like for us to look at some principles And then from there, we can draw some personal application. So, possible principles that we can base our applications from in Psalm 23 would be: believers can trust the Lord for their daily needs. Believers can trust God to heal them. You have your word there of refreshing. So God is able to refresh a person. Believers can choose to stay calm and rejoice in times of difficulties. You know the word where some would translate it as deepest darkness. I would take that as deepest darkness instead of the shadow of death. A sheep would not understand what do you mean by death, no? A shadow of death. But if you say deep darkness in the valley where they're passing through a ravine and all that, they go through deep darkness, they would understand that. So that can represent also difficulties in the life of believers. And the loyal love of the Lord should encourage believers to maintain fellowship with the Almighty. So, surely goodness and mercy will pursue me all the days of my life. Even God's mercy, God's compassion on us should lead us to be devoted to Him, to worship Him, to desire to stay before Him or be in His presence.